Hello and good morning. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I'm David Boles. I welcome you to BOLES.TV. Boles TV. Hello and good morning. Uh-oh. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Oh, I'm hearing that. Oh, that's my iPhone talking to me. I welcome you to BOLES. That's fun. At least I know the captions are working. Okay, that's down. And it's funny, when I start this stream, I turn on the closed captioning because it seems like the captions want to be first. Then I fire up Streamlabs, so that gets started. And then I do a little test with the microphone. Say, hey, this is a test of the microphone. Then I turn off the microphone. And then every once in a while, I don't know why, for the half hour that the microphone is off, but the closed captions are working, there pop up little words like mama and I've gone through and in my mind. And these aren't things I'm saying. I'm not even near the computer. So there's something going on where I don't know if it's the music we hear in the background is somehow bleeding through, being fed into the microphone somehow through the amplifier. It's very bizarre. So I guess I could turn the captions on and off and we wouldn't have this problem, but what fun would that be? Well, today is a really ugly, awful day in every possible conceivable way if you live in America. January 6th. The new day that will and is living in infamy. And what can you say about it? People try to take over our country through a political coup using violence. And a year later, it looks like a lot of them got away with it. I don't care what Merrick Garland said yesterday about justice and it takes time. You're running out of time. Politics has a timetable. And so must justice. And the midterms are looming in a year. And the Republicans are going to be in control of everything again, and they're going to close everything down. And Merrick Garland on his own is going to charge people in the Trump administration? He'll never get away with it. He will be stopped at every opportunity. But that's what you get when you elect someone like Joe Biden. Merrick Garland is his guy. And so we know. And in this subsequent year, with a new president and a new Congress and a new Senate, it doesn't feel like anything is better. It doesn't feel like anything has really changed when it comes to trying to fix and solve what happened on January 6th. It seems like things are worse. The violence is getting more obvious. The threats are being stated more clearly. So, we'll start today with what is sort of an obligatory but necessary conversation about what in the world is going on in America. This is an update, a long update, a very interesting update from the Southern Poverty Law Center, analyzing the last year. And it's about radicalization. And there are two stories of the radicalization of the pro-Trump wing of the Republican Party. One is slower moving and arguably starts in the 90s around the launch of Fox News. The other story begins on September 7, 2020, when polling made it apparent that Trump's path to re-election faced significant challenges. Far-right influencers such as Jack Posobiec and Ali Alexander used right-tilting social media giant Twitter. And that's true. People think Twitter's liberal. Twitter is run by conservatives. Not necessarily the administration of the company, but in the way that the people online are treated. To start pushing the 5-year-old Roger Stone-inspired hashtag Stop the Steal. So Stop the Steal became both rallying cry for pro-Trump Republicans seeking to overturn the will of the American voters, and the name this anti-democracy subgroup took for their movement. There's no doubt that these are genius people that were working here. They know how to work the system. They know where the soft spots are. They know what levers to push, and they know what buttons to pull. From the moment Stop the Steal went mainstream, pro-Trump Republicans have accelerated in one direction, toward a path undermining or attacking our democracy to gain and retain power. And they aren't doing it in secret. They're doing it quite out in the open, in social media, on Fox News, in conservative representatives. It's all out there. Oh, I lost my music. It's so dramatic. I don't know what happened. Something happened. Our music has stopped playing for some reason. We love technology. Oh, our music has gone belly up. We don't know what happened. Are we still on the air? That's the question. It appears we are, so far. There's a Dora. You're wondering about the music, Dora? Has there been any music, or has it not been on at all? I've been hearing music until just now, then it stopped. I don't know what happened. And I'm in the middle of my big rant, and nothing's happening here. I don't know why. This is our lovely Pretzel Rocks music. We'll see how this plays. Beneath us and behind us. Can you hear the music, Dora? That is the question. Yes. Oh, that's lovely. Now, I hope this is going to play. Will it just play and play? I guess we're going to find out. All right, we'll try this. This is Pretzel Rocks music. This is not Slip.Stream. So, part 2, the barrage of voter suppression bills. Republicans introduced in state houses across the country in 2021 disappropriately impact Black, brown, and indigenous people. The laws restrict the number of available polling places, increase the likelihood that officials purge voter rolls under false pretenses, drastically affect mail-in voting, and shrink election day hours. Republicans also purged election boards in swing states, such as Georgia, and replaced election officials with partisans who can exert influence the way those votes are counted. They have targeted nonpartisan election officials around the country in campaigns to destroy personal reputations for the purpose of installing pro-Trump loyalists. Trump himself has also used his prodigious influence in the party to drive out Republicans he perceives to be disloyal and replace them with proponents of his big lie. And that's where we are today in America. I'm adjusting the music volume. Happy January 6th. And nothing's been done about this. Joe Manchin and Sinema will not vote to overturn these election problems in these states. The music is louder. Okay. I'm going to see if I can turn it down just a little bit more. Okay, we'll try that. That's 4%. That looks better, I think. Oh, it's a troubling day. Who knew my music was going to revolt against me on January 6th? Who is behind it? So speaking about confusing and terrible things, awful things that don't make any sense, we're just going to briefly touch upon this. Yes, much better. You are having your insurrection, exactly. And Slipstream is owned and operated by my good friend David Carson from Nebraska. Why is this happening? The CDC is... Yes, thank you. Is confounding, I guess, is the word. They don't make any sense. We don't know where they're going. We don't know what they're doing. They're not telling us one thing. And when they do tell us something, it's to overturn something they already told us. Dr. Walensky, the head of CDC, highly regarded infectious disease expert from Boston, with no prior government experience. Very true. During the pandemic of the Trump years, she was on TV a lot, did a good job, explained things well. But she's not doing great as the head of the CDC. With no prior government experience, she insisted in February that schools must keep students 6 feet apart. A month later, she said 3 feet was enough. She said in February that teachers did not need to be vaccinated to reopen schools. The White House said the next day that she was speaking in her personal capacity. Now, how is that possible as the head of the CDC? When you're the head of the CDC, anything you say is official business. There's no way around it. You can't say, I'm speaking to you as the head of the CDC. By the way, personally, I don't agree with myself. In May, she said that vaccinated people generally did not need to wear masks in public. A sudden change that flummoxed state health officials. 2 months after that, she reversed that guidance after it was shown that vaccinated people could still transmit the virus. And we're not done with her yet. With the virus throwing one curveball after another, changing advice from the CDC is a given. Okay, fair enough. But Dr. Walensky's critics say the CDC's recommendations are sometimes so confusing or abruptly modified that they seem more like drafts than fully vetted proclamations. And Dr. Fauci has even kind of said that. He's very well seasoned in dealing with these terrible pandemics. And he disagreed with you stay at home for 5 days and you can go back but not get tested. He disagreed with it, and he sort of made that known very carefully, said, I'm sure the CDC is going to revisit it, and they did, but they didn't really. They just said, well, if you do take a test after 5 days and you're positive, you have to stay home for another 5 days, guaranteeing that nobody's going to take a second test. Nobody really wants to stay at home in quarantine. And it seems the problem is that she just kind of decides these things on her own and doesn't pass it around to Fauci and the White House and get feedback. How is this going to play? Is this confusing? I'm going back on what I said a month ago. Do you think that matters? Do I need to explain it? And on television, she's talking and you're watching her and she's like, doesn't make any sense. She doesn't seem certain what she's saying. That's a big communication problem. And speaking of COVID, wonderful story so far about Djokovic and playing in the Australian Open. He said he has an exemption. He believes he can vibrate water with his mind. He does not believe in vaccines. He's made that very clear. And somehow he has a mysterious medical exemption from having to take the vaccine. And Australia has a rule in the country, you cannot come in unless you have 2 shots. And somehow, some way, he is claiming that he was approved by the Australian Tennis Association, whatever it's called, to go there and play in their championship. And the Australian people are upset with that because he's getting away with it because he's a rich guy. And so now, yesterday, all day, there were these proclamations made online. The federal government of Australia has asked if we will support Djokovic's visa application to enter Australia. We will not be providing Djokovic with individual visa application support to participate in the 2022 Australian Open. Part 1 of the message. Part 2 of the message is, we've always been clear on 2 points in Australia. Visa approvals are a matter for the federal government, and medical exemptions are a matter for only doctors. So, Djokovic is in quarantine right now, and he has a hearing on Monday to determine if he can play or not. Now, the time between today and Monday is very long. And I'm not saying that money speaks, but money probably is going to do the talking to resolve this in some way. I have a feeling they're going to find a way to let him play, and I'm hoping that isn't true. Breaking yesterday, the ABF can confirm that Mr. Djokovic failed to provide appropriate evidence to meet the entry requirements to Australia. And his visa has been canceled. I mean, it's great news, but is it going to stick? I hope so, but I'm not so sure. And finally, as of this morning, Djokovic ordered to leave Australia, despite receiving coronavirus vaccination exemption to compete in the Australian Open. Top-ranked tennis player, the Australian Border Force, I guess that's the ABF, detained for hours in the Melbourne airport upon landing in the country late Wednesday night. Tournament and state officials announced Tuesday, and this all happened, he was all banned while he was flying into Australia, that Djokovic had been granted a medical exemption from getting vaccinated against the coronavirus so that he could compete in the Grand Slam event. But the federal government controls the visa process. Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison said Wednesday that Djokovic would have to prove upon arrival why he deserved the exemption, or he would be on the next plane home. I wonder what's going to happen. I'm very curious. If this were the USA, they'd find a way to have him play. Just like Kyrie Irving in Brooklyn. Well, there's a vaccine mandate, but if we play him on the road, we can get around that. And all of our players are sick with COVID, so we need him to play even though he's unvaccinated. I mean, how does that make sense? The whole team's down because of COVID, and you're going to play your star unvaccinated player on the road. And here's some wonderful news that we're sharing on January 6th, but it's really happening on January 10. Delicious plant-based fried chicken is coming to Kentucky Fried Chickens nationwide in the America. It's Beyond Meat. We talked about them a couple of weeks ago. Wonderful company, along with Impossible. It's the first mega release of plant-based chicken in fast food in America. Now, Burger King, 2 days before this was announced that in the UK, they are releasing, I believe, Impossible chicken nuggets. Now, why everything has to start in the UK that's vegan, I understand that's where veganism began, but I don't know why they can't do it there and here at the same time. Because the UK supports veganism. It's going to be a big hit. Dora wants to try it. I think it's going to be delicious. I've had variations of this vegan fried chicken, and it's absolutely delicious. I'm not saying it tastes exactly like chicken, that you would be fooled, because I'm a vegan. I'm not supposed to say that. But I think that meat lovers would be very delighted to at least give it a try. So Beyond Meat, breaking news. We're excited to officially announce Beyond Fried Chicken will be making its national debut on January 10. Yay! 4 days from now. Yes, you heard us correctly, because this has been going on for a year and a half. We've been hearing about these vegan nuggets coming soon. And last summer, KFC in several cities painted the entire outside of their buildings green, that green that you see on screen. And they would serve these vegan nuggets. And they sold out within an hour. They were so popular. There were lines around the block. Yes, you heard us correctly. This exciting moment marks the start of the largest plant-based chicken launch ever in the QSR industry. I have no idea what QSR industry means. Stay tuned for more details and get ready to grab a bucket. We told you 2022 was going to be tasty. Oh, I think it's going to be a big, massive hit. And I think the reason it took so long to get out and get ready is maybe the pandemic. But also because I think you got to make a lot of nuggets. Probably millions and millions and millions. Because if their test is any indication, it's going to be sold out within 10 minutes. Now, what will be very interesting is the next day, because if you look at, if that bucket of chicken is filled, it looks like with 50 little nuggets. I mean, that's just impossible. Maybe it's a small bucket, I don't know. But the regular KFC bucket of chicken, that's a lot of chicken. But the fun thing is, the next day, you can eat chicken. It's delicious, as I remember. Will these plant-based chicken nuggets taste as good the next day cold? I would think probably not. But maybe you can heat them up. Throw them in the microwave and see what happens. And before we get into our next story, because it's going to wind me up, we're going to take a brief break, but not before we talk to Dora. I had a KFC near me, but it closed down, so I'll have to find a new branch. Same thing happened here. I don't know what's going on with KFC. There were a couple near us, and they closed, and now there's one that's very far away in Jersey City. I don't know if there's one where Janny is in New York, but January 10th is what day? January 10th is what day? January 6, 7, 8, 9, next Monday, yeah? Yeah. Now that's weird, Monday. Why would you have your big release on a work day, on a Monday? You would, I would think, do it on a Saturday or Sunday where people can go and have fun. But maybe they're terrified they're going to be overwhelmed, which I think is going to happen. Because people who are very hardcore are going to want to go try this. Monday, very interesting. And we also had a Burger King closed down that was very close to us, and now it's very far away. I don't know what's going on. They have the delicious Impossible Whopper. And you can get it vegan, and it's absolutely, completely delicious. And many people don't know you can go in there and say, look, I want 2 Impossible Whopper patties in my Whopper. And they're going to charge you for it. But you can get a double-decker Impossible Whopper Absolutely delicious. And now, my friend, it's time for a very brief blood pressure break. I'll be back in a moment. We are back from break, trying to find more information based on Dora's comments while we're on break. Vegan Whopper didn't know. Yes, it's very interesting that when these companies make these vegan options, fast food companies, and I support that 100 million trillion %, because it's better for animals, it's better for people's health, it's just plant-based is the way to go. And it's interesting how there are two big players. There's Gardein, there's Morningstar. They've been around forever. But two of the big players now are Beyond Burger and Impossible Foods. And it's interesting, they both started with replacing hamburgers. Then the process was they both created sausages. And then they kind of led to a subcategory of meatballs. And now they're finally into chicken nuggets. And people from the very beginning wanted the vegan chicken, but I guess it was very hard to figure out. It was easier to figure out how to do the beef replacement than the chicken replacement. But now they both figured it out, and they're both feeling very happy with themselves. And I'm very happy with them too. So while we're away, Dora said, I try not to visit the popular fast food joints for health reasons. So great to know I can use the drive-thru and have healthy choices. And I absolutely agree with that. And maybe 2 years ago, Dunkin' Donuts had a Beyond Meat sausage, egg, and cheese thing on a English muffin. And you could take stuff out to make it vegan, but it was very delicious. And mainstream, which is very important for people. And then 4 months ago, 3-4 months ago, they said we're not selling that anymore. Which is really heartbreaking and a little bit earth-shattering, because you're thinking, uh-oh, the only reason they would stop selling it, you think, is because it's not being purchased? But then you think, well, maybe they had an exclusivity deal where they would sell only to Dunkin' Donuts for a set period of time, and then they're going to sell the Beyond Sausage Burger everywhere and whoever wants it. That could be. I believe that's sort of the deal that Impossible has with Burger King and their Impossible Whopper. And let me just find one other thing. So here we go. Chipotle just announced this week that they have a new plant-based chorizo and new lifestyle bowls. And you can go in there and say, I want a vegan bowl, and they'll make it for you. You don't even have to tell them what to put in it. It's just made. And the guac is part of the price. They're not going to charge you $2.50 to add a little teaspoon of guac to your Chipotle thing. So chorizo, I guess, is a kind of sausage, right? Spanish sausage. Because they used to have, did have vegan sofritas, which were kind of spicy. I think it was soy-based. A little too salty for me, but I understand why it's salty and spicy, because tofu tends not to have any flavor by itself, on purpose. So you can add whatever you want to add to it. So this is what the new chorizo plant-based bowl looks like. Oh, Dora has a Chipotle near me. That's very good. These are new lifestyle bowls, which I really, really love. Chipotle is kicking off the new year with 3 new lifestyle bowls powered by plant-based chorizo designed to make healthy habits accessible. Love that! So here they are, the Whole 30 salad bowl, super greens, lettuce, plant-based chorizo, fresh tomato salsa, fajita veggies, guacamole. The vegetarian bowl, super greens, pinto beans, plant-based chorizo, fresh tomato salsa, Fajita veggies and cheese. The vegan bowl. Here we go. White rice, which is odd because most vegans would prefer the brown rice. Black beans, plant-based chorizo, corn salsa, fresh tomato salsa, shredded romaine lettuce. It's delightful. And what's great about these is if you're not a social person and you want to get in and get out, just go up there and say, I want a vegan bowl. And they say, what do you want on it? You say, just make it the way it's supposed to be made. And they make it for you right away. So Chipotle, they may not be really great to their workers, but they are trying very hard to be healthy. And here's the news I was mentioning previously, before we took our break. The news from Burger King is the first to offer fast food chain in the UK to launch vegan chicken nuggets. Burger King is now offering vegan nuggets developed by the vegetarian butcher that are served with sweet chili dipping sauce starting January the 5th. I think it's delightful. Burger King's UK new vegan chicken nuggets join other plant-based options. Oh, I love that. Very cute. And here is the impossible Whopper that we were talking about earlier at Burger King. Now, if they could only make healthy French fries. Oh, that's true. Some places do baked French fries. Baked fries, I guess they call them. Or you can go for a sweet potato fry, which I absolutely love. And my dearly beloved Jana Marie is not a fan of sweet potato fries for some reason. I guess she prefers onion rings. I may be quickly corrected on that. I don't know. So this is the Impossible Whopper. Yes, it has 626 calories, which is a lot, but it's huge. It's a Whopper. If you've never had a Whopper before, it's not a hamburger from McDonald's. It's a huge Whopper. And you can go right on Burger King and look and see what's in it, how you want to order it. It's not lunchtime yet, so you can't have it, they're telling me. So I think it's a wonderful option if someone wants to eat healthy at fast food. Now here's something else that's interesting. Starbucks in the UK, this is the UK version of Starbucks, they have a Beyond Meat breakfast sandwich, plant-based, which is their sausage patty. And this is exactly what the Beyond Meat sandwich sausage patty looked like at Dunkin' Donuts. So maybe there is some movement going on there, where Beyond just doesn't want to be stuck at Dunkin' Donuts. They want to be out in the whole world. A Beyond Meat pea protein patty with our signature tomato relish, tofu turmeric egg alternative, and a slice of coconut oil-based alternative cheese. Wow, that's super hardcore vegan. I don't think you can get that in America yet. So here is the American version of that same breakfast sandwich. However, this one's from Impossible, the competitor to Beyond. 420 calories, Impossible breakfast sandwich with cheese and egg on a ciabatta. And it's very, very lovely. And you can edit the sandwich options to include no eggs, no meat, which would be funny, no cheese, nutritional information, which I really love. The fat's a little high, but not terrible. Protein, 21. And a little tiny sausage patty that's made from peas. That's very, very good. High protein. And that's available right now. You can go into any Starbucks, use the app, order the sandwich, and you can have it in 2 minutes. So the barriers to eating healthy in fast food places is disappearing. Dora can only eat half a Whopper at a time. Well, that's a good point. And sometimes we feel that way. Jan and I sometimes share a Whopper because it's really a gigantic sandwich. And the Cheesecake Factory has an Impossible Burger as well that is super, super delicious. And when they first offered it, it was a giant burger. You could not eat it by yourself. Impossible. So we'd order one and we'd split it. And then the Cheesecake Factory got very smart. And they shrank the size of their Impossible Burger down to a little tiny thing. And then they, instead of making it go big this way, they made it go high this way. And they put a lot of stuff on top of it. Changed the bun. And I admit that the smaller burger at Cheesecake Factory does taste better than their bigger burger. So it's a very smart company. They know exactly what they're doing with taste and design. And they tried the big Whopper-sized burger, got rid of it, and replaced it with a tinier, better-looking, better-tasting burger from Impossible in the same place. So that's another option you have. And before the Impossible and Beyond, you'd go and you'd ask for a veggie burger, and usually it was just vegetables clumped together in a patty, which isn't really very appealing. It can be a little wet, slimy sometimes. But a portobello mushroom burger is to die for. Oops, that tastes like a steak sandwich. Now, I am, let's say, not necessarily a people person. I tend to be distant. I like to work alone. I'm really not great at collaborating because, honestly, my ideas are sometimes out there and other people don't understand them, and I can't find a way to explain it in a way that other people understand, so I just go my own way, and then the proof is in what I produce. Love portobellos. Me too. You slice them up. They put a little Worcestershire sauce on them. It's a steak. Put a little barbecue sauce on them. Barbecue steak sandwich. It's fabulous. And the mistake a lot of people make is cooking them as the big thing. I mean, you slice it up. It's like pulled pork. So I can be a disconnected person. That doesn't mean I don't like people. Antisocial? Not really. Probably shy. But I was raised in the Midwest and formed that way, so I know how to be Midwest friendly when I have to be. And I do, willingly, perhaps not always willfully. So reading this article today, especially in the middle of a pandemic, just raised all of the anger and confusion that I have in life. And I've directed it at this woman. Now, reading this, I can tell you, honestly, directly, that I hate this woman. Now, I have friends and associates who'll say, oh, no, you don't use that H word. It's too harsh. Say dislike. Don't respect. Don't get along with. Don't ever say hate. To me, it's more direct to say hate. I had an old super in an old building who was disconnected from his family. The son he raised was not his own. He was a hardcore alcoholic for many years, then stopped. Didn't have a lot of friends, didn't have a relationship, divorced several times. And I said something about, I hate something. And he took off on me. And he's a Catholic. And he said, you can't say you hate anybody. That's too harsh a word. Now, I have a feeling a lot of people in his life have said that I hate you. But maybe this is some kind of religious upbringing where hate is a sin. I don't know. So this woman who I've never met, and I've only read about her briefly for about 5 minutes online, I hate her. And her name is Lee McGowan-Hare. And she wants you to know one thing about her. She's a hugger. If you just met, she'll give you a hug. If you are a Salesforce client, she'll give you a hug. In the middle of a pandemic. If you are considering signing up for Salesforce's services, then you too are in line for a hug. She extended a virtual hug in the middle of a recent video call. Oh boy, right there, the first paragraph. I'm running from the room screaming from her. You know those kind of personalities. I don't think they're genuine at all. I think they're big fake phonies. And they're virtue signaling and all their touching and hugging. But Ms. McGowan Hare, a vice president at Salesforce, now I know where I will never want to work to have a boss like her, realized that even the people who are with her on Team Hug might have changed their calculation on what is too close for comfort these days. So for Salesforce's convention in September, which she likened to a family reunion. Okay, right there. A business is not a family. Your co-workers are not your brothers and sisters. Your family is your family. Your blood is your family. The people you work with, the people who send you a W-2 and a 1099 form, they are not your mother and father. So for Salesforce's convention in September, which she likened to a family reunion, she landed on a solution. Something to separate the huggers from the mere fist bumpers. So obviously she knows what she's doing is a problem, and people don't like it. So instead of stopping the behavior, she's finding a way to modify the behavior so it's acceptable to her. I am still running down the street screaming from her. The 1,000 attendees of the San Francisco conference, known as Dreamforce. I like it when the music agrees with me. Were greeted with 3 options for pins to wear. A green pin means you're okay to hug in the middle of a pandemic with people you don't really know, who are not your family. Green, okay to hug. Yellow, let's do the elbow fist bump. Well, let's don't. We're in the middle of a pandemic. I don't want your hand touching my hand. Red, let's wave hello from 100 feet apart. Why do you even need this method? Why don't you just by default not touch people you don't know? Why don't you just by default don't hug people who are not your blood? Is it appropriate to hug in a business situation? I know in New York State, under the anti-harassment laws, you would not be allowed to hug someone like this. It would be considered sexual harassment. And you know this woman coerces hugs from people who don't want them. At least that's how the story reads, based on her quotes. Before someone came in, I'd be like, hold up. Let me see. Let me get ready, Miss McGowan Hare said, scooching back in her seat and mimicking the once-over she would give attendees as she located their pins. As she's looking at you as the vice president of Salesforce, seeing if you have a green pin, a yellow pin, or a red pin. It was kind of fun. Like, even though I was green, that doesn't mean my green tops your yellow, right? Oh, yes, it does. Whatever I did, I just did it with a lot of energy. Oh my God. I mean, I'm just depressed sitting here by myself, alone, socially isolated. Having to think about this woman chasing after people, trying to give them a hug or not. And determining in her own mind what strata of person you are. Are you a red person? Are you a yellow person? Or are you green like me? Doris says, not appropriate to hug. You are correct. How is she getting away with this? Hugging. A vice president hugger at Salesforce. How does this help her? I thought we were beyond inappropriate touching. And when you're a vice president in a position of power, because that is your title in the company, you have a greater obligation to behave and to keep your private personal wants and some such to yourself. Keep your hands to yourself. Nobody wants to hug you. You might think they do because you're the vice president of Salesforce. But I'm telling you, they don't want to hug you. Especially now in the middle of a pandemic. And even pre-pandemic, post-pandemic. You should not be hugging people. You should not be classifying them by the color of pin or band that they are wearing. It is completely inappropriate and depressing. And on that lovely note, my friend, it's time for us to take another small blood pressure break. We'll be back in a moment. We're back from break. I'm David Boles. This is Boles.tv. Thank you for being here. And thank you for following our initia as we're just coming back. Well, before we close on that idea of this hugging lady, we need to I'm still all wound up. When on break came back, I'm wound up. Imagine what the interview process must be like with this woman. You know she asks during the interview process if you're a hugger or not. You know she does, because she doesn't want non-huggers, of course. If she's a hugger, she wants people who hug like her. That's human nature. And she's obviously allowed to talk about it because she's pinning people with their color of hugging. And so what would you say if you're in an interview? If you're someone like me and you need a job at Salesforce? Oh, sure, I hug everybody. I'll hug a tree. I'll hug a fire hydrant. I'll hug you. Which is what she wants to hear. And well, if you're a fist bumper, if you're a red pin, you don't want any touching, well, I don't know. I don't think you really fit in here. And I am the type of person, being totally transparent, that if I were hired and did not for some reason know about this hugging regimen that goes on at Salesforce, and then it was sprung upon me, pandemic or no pandemic, I would go to a meeting with this woman and I would paint myself red. Hands, face, I'd have red flashing lights all over me. And I'd go in and sit down. And I'm sure that I would be reprimanded or written up or fired, which is why I work from home and why I work for myself, because I don't get along with that kind of person. However, I can tell you right now that this hugging thing, and now that's being printed and talked about, and she's dividing people based on their hugging and their want to hug her, which is what it's about. It's not about the family hugging each other. It's about how them hugging her, and she's watching you as you come into the meeting if you have the right color pin or not, so she can hug you. One of those people one day are going to be removed or fired, and they are absolutely going to come back and say, I was sexually harassed. I didn't want her touching me. I had to go along with it because she was my boss. It was inappropriate of her. She put a pin on me from yellow to red only because I told her I didn't want to be touched, especially in the middle of a pandemic. And now I would like to be paid for that pain. And how is she going to defend that? Because it's all over the news. She has no defense to it, to sexual harassment, inappropriate touching. And Dora loves to see me all in red. Well, I'm all in black today because we are mourning January 6th still, and we will for every day of our lives as Americans. But employers have to be very careful. I tell you right now, I know the law in New York State. And that whole hugging thing and dividing people based on the color of their pin, green, yellow, red, not happening. It's illegal. And you'll be in big trouble. Dora says it's so wrong on so many levels what this woman is doing. Yeah, it makes you wonder. You know, they say, oh, it's a California thing. It's a San Francisco thing. Shocking to me. And Dora works in New York. Dora knows the law. She can back me up on that. It's mandatory training in New York City and New York State. There's mandatory training, especially for state employees or for businesses that get money from the state. You have mandatory training in sexual harassment, in discrimination, what is reportable, what is not reportable. And what's most reportable is that kind of touching, hugging. You don't hug in the workplace. And there's mandatory reporting now. So even if another manager is in the room, let's say this is happening in New York, and she's going around hugging people, that manager, New York manager, has to report it to HR, the person above that manager. You don't have to wait for someone to complain. In fact, you are compelled to report it. You can't say, oh, that's just her. She hugs everybody. She divides people, red, yellow pins. Not in New York State. You're going to be reported and you're going to be in trouble. So I guess I need to go out and buy some red paint. Oh, here's Dora. You're correct about reporting. By the way, January 6th is the day of Epiphany. Oh, very interesting. Today, La Befana drops off gifts to good boys and girls. Fantastic. You're going to have to tell me who La Befana is because I don't know what that means. Also, January 6th is, I've learned now, the 11th year anniversary of our creation of teaching and setting up an American Sign Language program for CUNY SPS. 11 years ago. That is a third of our marriage. And it set up and ran very successfully, and then things changed, and people were fired, and they decided not to go in an educational direction, but a business direction. And I've written about that a lot, not necessarily about CUNY, but how universities are now run by the business school. It used to be run not too long ago by the law school, but now the business school runs the university, because that's where the money comes from. If you're in the arts, if you're in philosophy, if you're in library science, you have no power in the university. But if you're a business student, you have a nice building, you get a lot of financial support, and you're expected to turn it around and give it back later. Speaking of the university, I love when this happens. I kind of forget what we're going to talk about till I get there. Till I click on the next thing. This does concern me as well. Oh, here we go. Dora says, La Befana is a good witch who drops off gifts to good boys and girls in Italy. The Good Witch, our version of Santa Claus. Oh, I just love that so much. That's beautiful. I hope everybody gets a gift. I hope there are no bad children in Italy. This popped up in my inbox yesterday from Coventry University, and they are crowing over their new idea to have a 2-year training program in theater. Now, in America, we used to have 3-year training programs to get what we call an MFA. And people thought that took too long and cost too much money, so now, believe it or not, there are 1-year MFAs. Jana Marie has weighed in today. That's beautiful. I like good witches. Now, there's a joke waiting to be made there about Jana the Good Witch, but I'm not going to make it because I'm above that. Usually. So the International College of Musical Theatre in the UK and Coventry University are working together to help actors steal the show sooner. Oh, there's Dora and Janet. To help actors steal the show sooner by launching the first accelerated musical theatre performance degree course in England. The 2-year course is a first for conservatory-style vocational training, and it has been designed to help get students out into the industry, on stage, and starting their career sooner. which could cut the cost of studying to allow more people from different backgrounds to enter the profession with a degree. The BA, I guess, honorary musical theater program, performance degree, will be delivered out of the ICMT campus in central London and validated by Coventry University with a faculty of current performers, directors, choreographers, and musical directors, singers, and leading practitioners in their respective fields, taking students through intensive, practical-based, triple-threat training across the core of disciplines of singing, acting, and dancing. So I think that's great. I'm not sure what you get out of it by only having a 2-year course. The 1-year MFA is now a big thing. People don't want to spend a lot of time. And it's sort of unfortunate and tragic that people with 3-year MFAs are out in the world with people who have 1-year MFAs. Which one is trained better? When I was at Columbia, graduate school, theater, MFA, 2 years of in-school study, pre-programmed. There was a program of study. You didn't have any electives or any classes. Everybody took these classes each semester, based if you were a director or a dramaturg or a producer or a playwright. And then your 3rd year was spent doing an internship. One semester, a second semester. And you were paid a very nominal amount to do an internship, which at that time was okay. It was like $2,600 a semester, which doesn't really pay a month of rent, but it was better to get paid than to pay. So 3rd year was in residency. You didn't have to pay any tuition, but you had to pay fees, and then you got paid back a little bit of money. But it was a good, interesting experience. Well-trained, a good basis in theater and performance. So I hope this thing from Coventry University will also turn out to be something excellent and similar. Have you heard about Gen Z? I don't even know what generation I'm a part of. I'm not a baby boomer. My beautiful wife Jana is maybe a year out of being a boomer. I don't know if we're the in-betweens or the Gen Xers or the Gen Yers. It's all very confusing, but I guess the current modern kids are called Generation Z, Gen Z. I've never heard of it really until I read this article. And they're talking about Gen Z kids in college, so I guess that's the age that they are. Gen Z kids, 18, 19, 20-year-olds, are more independent in their learning style. But they want to be in a communal space, not isolated. The concept of being alone together. Now that's interesting because Generation X, as I understand it, is all about having experience. So it was important as a business person and as an educator not to train the mind, but to give these kids an experience where they went out into the world and did something and then came back and reported on it. Now that doesn't seem to be true. They want to be alone, but they want to be with other people. And how do you do that with dorm housing? The Gen Z student is typically very value conscious, as they saw their Gen X parents suffer through the Great Recession. Not the Great Recession of 1930. The Great Recession, I believe, of what, 2008? And understand the importance of maximizing value. That being said, Gen Z students are willing to pay for amenities and will pay more if they see it provides them value. Oh, our music has vocals. It's not supposed to have any vocals. Oh, I don't like that. People are talking behind me. I have to go fix this. Skip. Gotta be a way to skip. Skip. Next. Okay, we'll see what happens. Here we go. Better. Using digital technology comes natural to Gen Z students. Wi-Fi and networking are simply expected in student housing. Shopping online is the norm for the Gen Z student. So universities need to accommodate the ability for them to receive packages and have safe access to those packages 24/7. Now that's great, because that's very true. And what I find so interesting is these changes need to be made in existing dorm structures. They're not building new dorms because that takes 2 or 3 years to build a dorm. And then the Gen Z kids are moved on, and it's Gen Alpha 1. And they want a smaller building with no packages. The building we live in, people get a lot of packages. And the package room, when they built this building 5-6 years ago, when it was new, there was no pandemic, and people don't have cars who live here because we're very close to transportation, so people shop online. And they do not have a big enough package room to handle getting 2 or 3 packages per day for 500 apartments. It's a total mess. So the new building they built, which is 1.5 times bigger than this building, they have a giant package room the size of a city block. But it was still not enough, because they didn't anticipate that people would be ordering all kinds of things moving here, especially from China. They would sell everything they have in China, and these are people with a lot of money. And they would move to the new building, and they would order every single thing you need to live a life in New York City online and have it delivered. So every single thing you have in your apartment, you arrive with nothing but a suitcase and a few clothings. And everything else you need for your apartment, you have to order online. And they have the money to do it, but that means for the first month or so, when someone moves into that building, they're getting 30 packages a day of stuff to fill their apartment. So 30 packages a day times 800 is what? 1 million packages a day showing up. They have to be processed and scanned, and people come down and pick it up and go back up. It's a huge and total mess. So then they try to put limits on it, saying, well, you can only order a certain amount a day, and it can't be over a certain weight, and that helped a little bit. But the people who were moving in were a little upset, saying, you didn't tell me that before I sold all my stuff in China and moved here. So I understand the package, and access to those packages 24/7. Very, very important. The mail in the new building is separate from the building. It's not like an outhouse, but that's kind of the idea. It's a little tiny separate building about 15 feet from the main building, and it's locked and enclosed, but that's where you go to get your mail. And I guess they did that because they didn't want all those 800 mailboxes in the building itself, because that takes up a lot of room. And it's a private little room that you can see into. It's secure. And the post office person, I think, loves it, because they go in there and they lock the door, and they do the mail and they leave. In this building, when the mailman person is here, they have to block your access because people are very pushy and try to go in there and steal their mail. Get their mail, stealing it while all the other mailboxes are open because they're sorting the mail. The values that Gen Z espouses will promote more studios and micro units in residence halls. Gen Z students will also want more opportunities to cook for themselves, which I find very hard to believe. I don't know any young kids who like to cook for themselves. They like to order online. They also have more opportunities to cook for themselves and social spaces where they can work in an alone together scenario. That's the second time that phrase has been used in this article, and it's only 3 paragraphs long. Alone together. Providing spaces for gaming will also be important, as a majority of this generation say they game at least once a week. Now, these are college kids, right? Why are you gaming? Go to your room and cook something. Go open a box. I think the combination of wanting privacy, having fewer people share restrooms, hallelujah to that, and the desire for maximizing value will encourage these types of units. Allowing them choices will be extremely important. And then the article goes on to say that what they're talking about really are micro units, where it's just like a slot, where you go in there, your bed is in there, your TV is in there, you have your laptop on your stomach, but you're alone. But you're surrounded by 30 other people in these little slots. And then there's a communal room where you go out there and you watch television or you go to the bathroom. And then when you're ready to be alone, you go back into your little slot and you log on to your game and you play all the people in the other slots all around you. It's an interesting angle when you're trying to work it. And now it's time for a very brief blood pressure break. I will be back with you momentarily. And we are back from break. I'm David Boles. Thank you for being here. This is Boles.tv, BOLES.tv. Here every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern. Here trying to make some sense of the human condition. Tomorrow, the talented and lovely Jana Marie will be here to give you a lesson in American Sign Language. And things change, but as of early this morning, the lesson tomorrow at 10:15 a.m. looks to be about talking about food and drink, which will be a lot of fun. The desserts are really fun. And then Saturday and Sunday, Jana Marie is here at 11 a.m. to talk about disability and rights under the ADA and hearing aids and cochlear implants and culture wars and finding jobs for disabled people. Well, I've gone off on several rants today. I really went overboard in my time on the hugging woman. And I also got into a deep fall when it came to vegan fast food. So I'm saving the Freud and the uncanny for tomorrow because I don't want to rush through that. I am going to share a couple of other things before we leave today because they're fun and interesting. One of them is this, which popped into my inbox yesterday, and I like it just because it's fanciful. This is the Angry Pitbull Club, which I've never heard of, but I guess is a thing. Oh, there's hammering going on in the building. Unless that's the music, I don't know. There was hammering going on earlier, but I think it is the music. So these things you're seeing flash on the screen, I guess, as I understand it, are available for purchase as an NFT piece of art, a non-fungible token. Now, I don't know if these are popular. I don't know if this is a cartoon character. I don't know who, what, or why. But I am enjoying watching these things flash before my eyes. Welcome to the Angry Bull Pit Club. You can join our Discord server, which is a chat server. We are on Discord. David Boles is the name of our server. 10% of minted Angry Pitbull Club sales will be donated to the Best Friends Animal Society. So I love that. Let's use NFTs to help and save animals. Hallelujah. We'll be implementing community voting mechanisms where holders can directly input their opinion. Holders of what? I don't know. NFTs? And putting their opinion on what? How to spend the money? I'm not sure. We're collaborating with Best Friends to have more direct community involvement. APC holders will have the opportunity to adopt directly with animals that Best Friends can take care of. It could be the music as I heard it, and I wasn't sure something was going wrong in my house. Oh, good. I'm hoping it is the music. Although sometimes when they're banging, you can hear it through the microphone. But I do believe it was the music, because I just heard another thing where they're clicking and it's just the music. Angry Pitbull Club members will have access to special events, premium giveaways for holders, example, members, exclusive Angry Pitbull Club merch store. It's the beginning of the Pitbull universe, which scares me a little bit. But here's the featured artwork. Angry Pitbull Club is a collection of 10,000 unique digital Pitbull NFT collectibles that represent through ownership. Okay, so I guess if you want this, you can go buy it and then it's yours. Now, I don't know how people just don't take this and save it on their computer and say, oh, I have this lovely photograph or picture drawing that I don't own? I'm a little confused by it all. But here's the collection sold on OpenSea. We've talked about them before. This is an NFT selling place. And is there a price on these? I guess there is. Angry Pitbull Club, single item, top bid. And you're bidding in, I guess, Bitcoin or some kind of cryptocurrency. But it's all going to a good cause, so we support it. Remember when we talked about Twitch and how people get paid in bits and there's illegal stuff going on? Well, here's confirmation of what's happened. On Tuesday of this week, Turkish police in 11 different provinces took 40 suspects into custody for an alleged money laundering scam perpetuated using the Twitch streaming platform. The suspects are accused of using stolen credit cards to buy bits, which are essentially the platform's virtual currency, cryptocurrency. Those bits were then allegedly sent to streamers, who then paid scammers real money through a 70 to 80% refund. Dora says, sorry, I can't get behind NFTs, but if it's good for a good cause. It's very hard to onboard with these NFTs because it seems like every platform, every artist wants a different form of payment, which means you have to come up with a different kind of virtual wallet. It's not mainstream yet, but a lot of money is being spent. So, if the scammers bought 1,000 bits for $10, this could be a way for them to make $7 or $8 from a stolen credit card, and streamers to pick up the difference. Compound more stolen credit cards and much higher dollar amounts, and you end up with a scam that could total an estimated $9.8 million. This appears to be a long-running operation with an email paper trail going back 2 years. And as I said, look, if you're a streamer on Twitch and someone approaches you and said, hey, let's have a 70-80 split on bits and I'll spend them in your stream, don't do it because you're going to get caught. It might take a couple of years, but Twitch is going to come back to you and say, okay, we paid you and the money was stolen, so you pay us back. There's no such thing as free money. And now we're finishing the stream today with this fantastic idea. The FDA now allows companies to step forward and sell hearing aids directly to the public, OTC, we'll call it, over the counter. Before, you used to have to go to a special hearing consultant and get an MD's note about your hearing loss, and then it would be evaluated by an audiologist, and then the audiologist would prescribe what they thought was the appropriate hearing aid for you, costing thousands and thousands of dollars. Some hearing aids, one ear in a hearing aid would be $5,000 for one aid. And if you need two, $10,000. Well, some of these audio companies, Boles is one of them, is stepping forward into the breach with their own brand of hearing aid that you can buy online for $849. Now that's fantastic. That's a price you can't beat. This is what they look like up close. They are not ear molds. Too convoluted, so never pursued. I agree, it is very convoluted, especially as a seller. So there's no ear mold with these, although I suppose you might be able to get one somewhere. But they fit in your ear, and these are the powerful ones. They don't go in your ear, they go in the back of your ear. And they look like this, so you really can't see them unless you're looking. Some people, as they age, get a little vain about that kind of thing. Another photograph from a different angle. This is what they look like stored. Come in a nice little storage box. And here are the ear molds, so you can pick the one that you like best, that works the best for you, and you can try them out. Red and blue. I don't know what it is. Red is left, blue is right, or maybe it's the other way around. But that's how you know which ear they go in. Is there a way to test before purchasing? Just give me a minute. We're only on the first page. Oh, and this is very... Oh, and this... Oh, here, I'm getting lost in my own thoughts. This is how you size them. So it shows how they'll fit. Whoopsie. This is cleaning. Got to clean. They work with batteries. 312 is the most common hearing aid battery. Another beauty shot. Okay, we're back to the B. So you can buy them right now. Boom, buy. Take the hearing screener. Here you go, Dora. You click on this, and we'll click on it just to see what happens. Do you have difficulty hearing? Know more about your hearing in fewer than 5 minutes. So this will take you through you probably have headphones on, and it will give you a hearing test, which we probably should do. Maybe we will do it. Loading audio. This online hearing assessment is meant to help you understand if you have some hearing difficulty. It's not a diagnostic hearing evaluation. It cannot diagnose your degree or hearing loss and cannot recommend a spell. Okay, oh, bye. That's just saying we're not a medical doctor. So, to project your birth year, okay, 70. We'll just go with that. How would you rate your overall hearing ability? I'm going to say a 9 because I'm vain. And because I think it's true, I do have super hearing. When do you have the most trouble hearing? Phone conversations, okay. Dinner parties, sure. Television, concerts, restaurants. You decide. In regard to your hearing difficulty, which one most closely describes you? I currently wear or have tried hearing aids. I have trouble hearing, but I will say I currently wear hearing aids because I'm curious how hardcore they can go with these hearing aids. Select one of the following. They fully meet my demands. They don't fully meet my demands. That's what I feel. How would you describe where you stand with hearing aids and other hearing solutions? I'm currently not seeking and new to this, in the know. I've researched hearing loss and available solutions. That's me. Thanks for telling us about yourself. You'll be presented with 20 rounds. Woohoo! To optimize the assessment.
4, 8, 6. 4, 8, 6. 4, 8, 6.
Okay, so this is
4,
your
8, 6.
picking the sound level
4,
you want to take the
8,
test.
6.
I'll leave it at there. Okay, here's an example of how we assess your hearing. Numbers will play with varying degrees of background noise. Enter what you hear. If you can't make them out, it's okay to guess. Okay, well, that means I have to turn off my music because I'll never pass this test. But I'm very curious to see how I'm doing. Oh, I turned off the wrong music player. That music player is already off. This one's off now. Okay, here we go. Now it's time to get busy and take the test. 486. Okay, so we begin our test. This test is about to start. Okay.
1, 6, 2.
Okay. 1, 6, 2 is what I'm saying.
5, 7, 8.
I heard 5, 6, and 8. Okay.
0, 5, 8.
I heard 0, 5, 8. Okay. Now, if you have to take this test yourself later.
7, 3, 2.
I heard 7, 3, 2. Try to forget everything you're hearing right now, in case it's the same test.
2, 9, 3.
2, 9, 3. And this is the same kind of test that Apple gives you when you're testing hearing. You're testing your hearing with their AirPod. Same thing, but they want you in a quiet room. Luckily, here we're in a quiet room, although they didn't say quiet room. But I do have headphones on, so maybe I am cheating.
2, 4, 5.
I'm saying I heard 2, 4, and 5.
2, 5.
That's a harder one. I thought 6, 2, 5. But I'm not confident about the first number.
9, 6, 7.
9, 6, 2. It sounded like 10 instead of 2, but I know there's not a 10. I've had so many hearing tests, and this is exactly how they test you. Fascinating. Well, this is good. You can do it all online. You don't have to go to the doctor. This is the new world of staying at home forever.
7, 0, 4.
I'm saying 704 is what I heard.
4, 2, 3.
I heard 4, 2, and 3.
1, 5, 7.
1, 5, 6 is what I heard, but that was hard for me to hear. That was a lot of background noise.
9, 6, 7,
It sounded like 966, but I'm going to say 967. I don't think they would repeat a number, but maybe I'm wrong.
8, 4, 3,
Oh boy, I heard 84. Oh, this is the first one I didn't hear. 84. If you can hear the three numbers, just go ahead and guess. Oh, 84. I'm going to say 1 because that's a very hard number to hear.
4, 6, 3,
Okay, 463. The 3 they really buried.
5, 7, 2,
562.
0, 4, 6,
I heard 046.
9, 1, 2,
942. The 4 they obscured. So that's a complete guess. I could not hear it.
6, 3, 9,
I heard 6, 3, and 9. They really are emphasizing the 6 sound. I think this is like the fourth one in a row where we've had a 6. And it's very easy for me to hear, which makes me think it's not easy for other people to hear.
8, 0,
I'm saying 9, 8, 7. The 8 and 7 are a guess.
1, 0, 2,
I heard 1, 0, 2, and I only heard the 0 because she emphasized the pronunciation.
8, 4,
8, 4, I'm going to guess 3. It was very obscured. I could not hear the number. 9, 2, 6 is what I'm going to say. I could only hear the 9. The 2 and the 6 were very, very distorted. For me, 4, 2, 3. There was a lump between the 2 and the 3 to throw you off. I believe it was a 3. So that is 23 of 23. Now we're going to get our results. Oh! Thank you for completing your hearing assessment. Based on your responses, you may have a mild hearing difficulty, which is disappointing for me because I have super hearing. This is not diagnostic. Okay, severe, moderate, none. Well, I was going for none. Get email updates. So that was the hearing test. Okay, I like that. Now we go back to the page. Buy now, no, because there's more to look at. This is where it really gets good. So these are for mild to moderate hearing loss, clinically proven self-tuning. I trust Bose. It's a very good company. Comfortable, discreet fit. 90-day risk-free trial. Comprehensive world-class support. High-quality audio sound. I believe it. Self-fit design. Replaceable batteries. Dora says, yes, my tinnitus is acting up as you are being tested. So having a hard time hearing the numbers they are announcing. Well, you have to go on yourself and do this test just for fun. And here it is. There's the link. And the only reason I'm promoting, not even promoting, I have no relationship with Bose. I know that they do other things. Other companies have hearing aid things. Thank you, Dora. You will. Good. Let us know what happens. They just, because they're at CES, the Consumer Electronics Show, and they won some award for their technology for these hearing aids, which I appreciate and love. And they're FSA, HSA eligible, which is really super duper fantastic. Which means you can use your own money to pay for these and not have to pay tax on it. Hearing in your hands. So you have a sound control where you can control what you're hearing and how it sounds on your phone. So your phone programs and updates your hearing aids. That is pounding, which makes me say, turn on the music, young man. And for that I say, I'm here for you. Sweet Magnolia, following. Thank you so much for the follow. It's nice to have you with us today. Music is back on, and the pounding continues. Now, what I find very interesting is sound control hearing aids do not stream music or take calls. Now, that I find very telling because I know a lot of deaf people who are very technologically proficient. They have behind the ear hearing aids, and they can control the sound through their hearing aids, and they can listen to music is Bluetooth, and they can talk on the phone using their hearing aids as their amplifying device. So maybe that's the difference between a $5,000 hearing aid and an $800 hearing aid. I don't know. But I'm not exactly sure why. I would want to read more in the FAQ. How they work, you can start a product demo. Hearing aids refined, developed by audiologists. This is really wonderful because it allows people to get access simply and without having to spend a lot of money to getting aids from help. Tune it yourself. Amplify which sounds you want to hear. Tune sounds for better quality. I like that very much. You can turn up the treble. You can turn up the bass. You can find a different mode. You can balance between left and right. Focus when you need to focus. Now, what does that mean? That means microphones in each hearing aid work together with the focus setting in the Bose hearing app to choose the direction you want to hear. Oh, that's interesting. Select the front feature on the app to focus in front of you, which is ideal for conversations, especially in noisy environments. The Everywhere feature lets you listen all around you, which is best for general listening like walking outdoors. Okay, fun. Create modes for different environments. So you have a mode for a restaurant, you have a mode for watching a movie, you have a mode for music, so you don't have to fiddle with the things, you just press a button. And the hearing app is available on iPhone and on Google. You can compare the hearing aids to others on the market. Download a full comparison. Discreet all-day comfort. That's how they fit right over your ear like that. Very comfortable. Soft silicone tips. Batteries. Water resistant. Support when you need it. You can try them risk-free. A 90-day risk-free trial. Now, how can you beat that? And they're very smart to offer it because for a lot of people, $849 is a lot of money. They have no idea. Hardcore hearing aids cost $10,000. So you try them at home for 90 days, and if they work, they work. If they don't, they don't. But that tells me they're very confident that people who have hearing trouble will benefit a lot from these hearing aids. Related stories, recognizing hearing loss, getting the right hearing aid, what's in the box, indications for use, weight dimension, Bluetooth. Now that's, what's going on with Bluetooth? Use Bluetooth low energy, BLE. Okay, that should mean you can listen to music and talk on the phone. I'm a little concerned about it. Here are the reviews. Pretty good for an $800 set of hearing aids. And these are accessories. Replacement cable, $49. That's cheap. Hearing aid battery packs, another carrying case. Cleaning your hearing aids, very important. Wax guard replacement kit. Your ears are waxy and gets in your tube and you got to get it out of there. So it's really wonderful. I wonder what this fact sheet is. Comparison. We'll click on this. Sound control hearing aids, comparison chart. I guess that's if you want to share it with somebody, and I'll share the Bose hearing chart with you in chat so you can look at it yourself. Well, there you go. Fun day, fun stream. Talked about a lot of interesting topics. Some more infuriating than others. No virtual hugs here. The only thing I'm hugging is my microphone. You are safe. You don't even have to think about it. Is he going to hug me or not? I had a friend for a long time ago who was very strange in that he always wanted to apply to be my friend. And he was a little older than me, which I found very bizarre. I said, if we know each other, we're friends. That's my philosophy. And if I don't know you, it's because you're not my friend yet. And the minute I know you, then you're my friend. Some people have very rigid ideas about what a friend should be and should not be, which is fine. Friends do this together, friends do that, friends back each other up. Fine. Not my thing. A thing for other people. And this guy who applied to be my friend, and I said, that isn't how we have to do it. We don't say, I want to be your friend. Yes, you are my friend. We know each other. We're friends, okay? There's not an application process. And then he would say, because we'd see each other, and I'd say, hey, how are you? And he'd say, I'm always so nervous because I never know if I should hug you or not. I said, why? He said, well, you wave and your hands are kind of open, and I'm not sure if that's a hugging gesture or if I should just stay away or if I said, Todd, if you want a hug, come up and give me a hug. I'm not inviting you to hug. I'm not asking for a hug. I'm not saying I want to apply to be your friend. We're friends. If you feel like hugging, hug. If you don't feel like hugging, don't hug. I will hug you. I will fist bump you. I will not hug you. It doesn't matter to me. Whatever you're comfortable with. That was not an answer he wanted to hear. I guess he wanted me to say, yes, every time we see each other, we will hug. And then we will seal our friendship in blood. I think that was the solution he was looking for. It didn't happen. We don't see each other much anymore. And with that, if you have questions, please find me online, Twitter, David Boles, Facebook, Boles, on Instagram, Boles Books, TikTok, Boles TV. And you can email me, david@boles.tv. If you have a question or an inquiry for Jana about ASL or disability, you can email her all day, every night, jana@boles.tv. Have a safe rest of the day, especially if you are in America. It's a dangerous, treacherous day, January 6th. And I hope you'll be safe and sound and happy and full of life and joy. Until I see you tomorrow.